Thank you, Madam Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, this talk is on vocal variety and gestures. However, I draw your attention to the board there. I've put three things there: verbal, vocal and visual. Right, when we speak, we use all three. Now, the first one, verbal, is just the words that we use. And a good example of communicating with just verbal would be something like email. And I'm not going to talk about verbal tonight, but the next one, vocal, and this was where vocal variety comes in. Vocal is how we use our voices. Now, think of a television set. We probably all, some of the older ones here will remember black and white television, and how much it changes if we add a little bit of colour to a colour television. Now, using vocal variety in your speech is a bit akin to adding colour to your speech. So, someone who, well, let's have a look at some of the things that you use in vocal variety to vary your voice. One of them, of course, is volume. Now, in most cases, you make sure you have the volume so that when I speak, Tom up there should be able to hear me, and I think he can. Right? If you don't speak loud enough, it's as if your television hasn't got a picture at all, because people at the back will not have a clue what your speech is about. But next one is articulation, how you pronounce the words and how you say them. And again, there's a couple of things here. You need to speak clearly, but it is not a good idea to pronounce each word individually. You see, because that sounds fake. So you do have to run words together, but you don't do it in such a way that people can't understand what you're saying. The next one is how fast should you speak. Now, normally spoken language is from 100 to 120 words a minute. So if you're looking at your speeches and you do a word count, that'll give you a rough idea of, if you're a fairly fast speaker, 120 words. If you're like me, I go on about 100 words a minute. And the thing to be careful of is not to speak too fast so nobody can understand you. That tends to happen, particularly in new speakers. They're reading their text and away they go. And everybody gets lost. So not too fast. And there are times when you need to vary it. If you've got something really exciting to say, then you should say it fairly quickly and get the audience involved. But if it's important, slow down and make sure you make a point. So you can see the variation there and how you can effectively use it in your speeches. Another one is, which women can do better than men, is to vary the pitch and sort of get a little bit of sing-song in your speech. So you have a few ups and downs. I find it fairly hard to do. I'm more an informative speaker rather than one that can put lots of variation into the way I speak. But it's something to think about. And another very important one is pause. And I would suggest when you have your speech written out, have a look at it, and everywhere that you're changing from one subject to another, put a highlight marker there. And when you're practicing, when you hit that marker, stop. In fact, speakers that work on the world stage, you will find that they actually will count 1001, 1002, 1003 when it's time for a pause. And it becomes very effective. So you use pause on it, as I said, a changeover to another item, so that you want the audience to catch up and be ready to start with you on the next item. The other time you would use it is somewhere where you want great effect. You want everybody to take notice. It's also very good for waking up people in the audience who are starting to nod off because all of a sudden there's silence and they look up. Don't have to use that one very much in Toastmasters. So there's some of the things that you can use. Another one is power words. When I say power words, when you have a look through your text, you will find there are places where there is a word that's very important. And you'll notice when I said very, I emphasised it. Because that to me, in that particular sentence, was the power word. So have a look through your thing and through your speech, and every now and then just put a highlighter through a word that you want to actually emphasise to make a point. And there I used emphasise as a power word. So there's some of the things that you can do to add colour to your speech. Okay, I'll get everybody up now. We're going to do some Toastmasters, have a stretch, right? And we're going to do some Toastmasters calisthenic. We do gestures. Because I'm moving on to the visual now. So when you're talking about something big, you have what they call an expansive gesture. Just watch, you don't knock the person over next to you. Right. And then when it's a bit small, you might come down to here. And something very small, not only would you go down tiny, but you make yourself a bit smaller as well. Now, how many people know what that gesture means?
Oh, where are we?
It's where you are.
Okay, it's in Australia, USA, places like that. It's okay. It's the okay sign. You know, everything's okay. In Japan, it's the zero sign. It means nothing. You know, you're talking about zero. If you're in Turkey or the Middle East or somewhere, please never ever use it. It has a rude connotation. Right? So I'll get everybody to show me the OK sign, because we're in Australia, right? And then take the OK sign, put it down on your chin. And then have a look at the person next to you and see where they think their chin is. Okay, get everybody to sit down.
Yeah, because he did that, yeah. Yeah, you know when he gets relaxed.
That's right.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was an example of the power of the visual. Anybody give me an idea, if we were to look at percentages there for verbal, vocal and visual for a speaker, what do you think the impact of each of those would be? So someone give me an impact, say, for the verbal, just the words.
Out of 10?
Out of 100%, yeah.
Low.
Yeah.
I think it's only 7%, isn't it?
Yeah, 8%, I think. Yeah. Oh no, 7. You're right, 7%. Yeah. There was a study done many years ago by a fellow named Albert Moravian. 7% for verbal, right? The vocal. Anyone give me? Can you remember that one?
Not sure. I think visuals like in the 50s, in the high 50s.
Yeah,
it's very high up.
Well, vocal 38, which leaves visual 55%. So, as soon as you get up to give your speech and walk out on stage, you've already made it. You haven't said a word, but you have made an impact with the audience. So how you dress, how you stand, different things like that come into the visual, and they're the way people judge you. People think, do I want to listen to this person or don't I? And some of those things are very important. I've mentioned dress. When I say stance, that's posture. Usually, in most cases, stand up straight. This will allow your voice to flow, but it also creates an impression with the audience. And that creates a good impression. So, some of the other things to be aware of is movement around the stage. If you're on a very big stage, you'll find speakers will move quite a bit, and they'll talk to different parts of the audience. On a stage like this one, I shouldn't move very much at all, because I can encompass the whole audience from pretty much the same place. The other things that you would look for is gestures, and we often talk about gestures in our evaluations. The gestures that you use should fit in with the speech, and I use the open-handed gesture a lot. Be very careful of the point the finger gesture. It tends to put your audience off. So open-handed gesture, when you're not gesturing, just leave them hang by your side. That's often hard to do, but it's better than the fig leaf. It's better than the spider on the mirror, and some of the gestures that you'll find people use which they don't know what to do with their hands. So gesture, a lot of gesture, and the visual side of it is to be natural and to make gestures that fit in with your speech. And so you can actually put the gestures into your speech in places where you want to do it and do them in the practice. But most of all, when you're learning to speak, I would say try and have no gestures that are distracting in your speech. That's probably the first thing to learn. Later on, you can build things in. So I'll leave you now with the ABC and XYZ of public speaking. The ABC relates to the verbal, the words you use. Always be concise. And the XYZ relates to the visual, and it's examine your zip. Mr. Chairman, or Madam Chairman.